I want to read this from Reb Gershon Edelstein. Reb Gershon Edelstein is on the Ziknei Gedolei Hador of Eretz Yisrael, Panavisha Rosh Hashiva, and he's really second in command to the Baron Leib Steinman's Zayin Gesund. And he writes these two little paragraphs that I think are very, very important for us all in Klal Yisrael to remember. He wrote this in the Gillion of Rosh Hashanah, Tavshin Ches, so it's just recently. He says, they send out in Hebrew and they send out in English, so I'm going to read the English. There's another type of evil speech, but it is not spoken. It's a kind of lashon hara v'machshava. They are the critical and judgmental thoughts that a person has regarding others. One must judge others favorably and see in them their positive traits as opposed to what they are lacking. In other words, whenever you look around at somebody, you can see what they're lacking, but not everybody's lacking everything, right? So you see there are good things. He says that we have a chiyuv. Just like you wouldn't talk lashon hara on somebody, you shouldn't think ra about another person. The Shari Tshuva indeed writes that righteous people praise others for any positive midah that they possess, whereas evildoers seek out and criticize any perceived failing in others. So he says like this: the tzaddikim are mefarin u'mushabchim b'nei adam al kol ma'ila toiva hanimtzais b'hem v'arishoyim mechapsim mumei b'nei adam b'shgiyasam lashbilam. So you would think that this has nothing to do with religion. Why is this a religious thing? He says no. You see somebody that goes around and he says, oh, you see this person is about this and this person is about that, and this person is negative and this person is this and that. You would say, oh, he's very realistic and he really knows how to shots up people. A tzaddik is not somebody who's naive. The tzaddikim were not interested in seeing bad. The one who goes around and says, you see that, this person is manipulative and this person is selfish and this person is all the negative stuff, it's a lack of tzidkus. This is what we have to work on ourselves, right? Because we never grew up in yeshiva. They didn't teach us that this is a part of religion. They taught us halacha, and they didn't teach us that part of a religion is that if you look at somebody doing the wrong thing, actually, it just brings to mind something mind-blowing. Nesiv Shalom, the Nesiv Shalom, right? He writes in Pirkei Avos on the first part, have a mitalmidav shel Avram Avinu. So Nesiv Shalom says in Pirkei Avos in the Hakdama, he says that Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, what were they learning? There was no Taisvis, there was no Ktsais, there was no Machlekes and Tif and Arayin in the Sugya. What did they learn? So he says they were Misake in the Midas. We all know that Avram Avinu was Midas HaChesed, and Yitzchak was Midas HaGvur, and Yaakov was Midas Emes, right? And they were Misake in the Midas. What does it mean? It means that that's what they learned all day long. When you went to the Beis Medrash, they were sitting and they were harving in Midas. That was the foundation of Klal Yisrael. That's what he brings out over here in the book Nesiv Shalom. He says, how come the Torah doesn't give you any Midas? The Torah doesn't say anywhere to be a nice person to have. He says, you know why? Because the Torah is given to a Jew. You have to already be a Jew. But what's a Jew? Midas. Taharas and Midas is before, right? Derech Eretz Kadma L'Torah. Derech Eretz Kadma L'Torah means that you have to be a refined person, a Jewish refined person, in order to have Torah. And unfortunately, they teach us Torah, but they forgot to have the years in Beis Medrash, to harva in Midas. He says in Avram Avinu's Beis Medrash, Hainu shebi shivasai shel Avram Avinu lamdu ve'isku ve'asku ve'chidushay ve'sugyas elu shel ayin toive ve'ruach nimucha ve'nefesh shvela shenyanim elu koilim kol hamidas. Avram Avinu's yeshiva, morning seder, they spent 3 hours in Iyun, ayin toiva, and then they had a shir in ayin toiva. And how to be an ayin toiva. I mean, we think, like, how long do we need? 5 minutes, 2 hours? A whole year, 2 years, 3 years? They were sitting and they were learning. B'kiyas ayin toiva, b'iyun ayin toiva, harving in it. How much time is it? It turns out that there's so much depth to really having ayin toiva that if you don't work on it in the yeshiva of Avram Avinu, you'll never really get there. You still you're able to act, but you're be'etzim, when you look at somebody, you have an ayin ra. Ayin toiva, he says, and the other one's also rach nemucha nefesh shvela, to have a low nefesh, to be a humble person, and not an egomaniac. That's exactly what we're trying to do. That's exactly right. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to show you ayin toiva, but now I want to explain that Reb Gershon is saying that this is something, we look down at the kids off the derech, right? You're not allowed to, or anybody. Why? Because the Rishoyim he says, are the ones who always see the bad. I grew up seeing people positive and negative. I thought it was a midah. I wouldn't say you're a Rasha and you're a tzaddik. I wouldn't say it's a defining factor of being a good Jew. He says over here that tzaddikim mifarin u'mishapchim b'nei adam. They build up. That same guy who does bad things and does good things, they build up the good. Al kol ma'ila toiva nimtzos b'hem. They find something and they build it up. And the Rishoyim, they're looking. You see some people, they really enjoy it. They really chap a guy doing something bad, and that's Lashon Hara. But he says it's not just Lashon Hara in talking, repeating it, thinking it. Okay. The Chovos HaLevavos writes that there was once a pious person, a tzaddik, who was walking with a group of his students, and they encountered a dead animal. The students remarked how bad the carcass stank, and the pious person noted that its teeth were very white. His students realized that their negative perspective should rather be on the positive. This teaches us, says Rav Gershon Shlita, that if it is incorrect to denigrate an animal carcass, a dead animal, when something good can be said about it, how much more so when describing live human beings, right? And how much more so when describing a Yiddish neshama. The Chovos HaLevavos explains that the pious person was teaching his students that they should get their brains and tongues in the habit of thinking and speaking positively, so that they should make this their second nature. See why this is important? It is reasonable to say that there are destructive results when one has critical thoughts. This is because a person's thoughts are known to Hashem, who uses these thoughts to accuse two parties of misconduct. One party refers to the person who is the subject of these critical thoughts, and if he is indeed guilty of wrongdoing, he very possibly should be punished. Right? In fact, it says, brought down in Chazal, that there was no Churban Beis HaMikdash until there was Lashon Hara. Why? Because as long as people don't talk bad about each other, then the prosecutors can't talk. But when there's Lashon Hara, then all of a sudden the prosecuting angels come in and they start prosecuting. However, the person thinking these thoughts is also subject to heavenly scrutiny, as Hashem analyzes his thoughts to see if he has a right to be critical. So two people lose out when you think. We're not even talking about Lashon Hara spreading it. We're not even talking about Rechilas. We're talking about when you look at somebody doing something wrong and you go like, what's wrong with that guy? Why is he doing such a thing? It's embarrassing, or he shouldn't be doing this. And forget about action. Two things happen. In Shemayim now, they're looking down at this guy and they're saying, hey, what's your uncle doing, Taka? Let's punish him. They're also looking at you. What's so good about you? Do you have a right to be critical? Who are you? Right? The famous saying that we've said here many times, right? Don't look down at somebody just because he sins differently than you do. Right? We like our sins. We don't like his sin. You didn't have his life. Don't judge him. You don't understand where he's coming from. When it comes to our sugi, we talk about kids off the derech. I can tell you, really being involved with off the derech kids, I'm much more worried about us than them. They're pure. They're innocent. They have a history. You know how many of them tell me about their pain? They tell me about their pain. I'm not making this up. They are hurting. Yeah, exactly. Right? They tell me, I know what's going on over there. It doesn't mean every single person, but whoever I got close to told me their pain. And I said, wow, I'm not so concerned about them. These kids have the best, adults, they have the best midos. If I need somebody to back me up and to have my back, I prefer them to any of you. Now, you guys are getting better. I'm starting to trust you a little bit, but they're so good. They're so good. And we go ahead and we look down, and we think down at them. It's a problem for them, but it's also a problem for us. The Gemara in Sanhedrin states, one must first ascertain that he is free of wrongdoing before criticizing others. Just as this is true regarding verbal criticism, so too it is reasonable to assume, says Rav Gershon Edelstein, it applies to mental criticism. When one has critical thoughts, Hashem sees if he is indeed free of wrongdoing and has a right to have these thoughts. If not, he will be punished for his own wrongdoing. So we're burying them, we're burying ourselves. This is not just off the derech, this is anybody. This applies to anybody. You go to shul, you see this guy is doing this and this guy's doing that. Right away, we're critical. And I always thought it was a midos thing, not a Yiddish guy thing. Rav Gershon is showing us it's a difference between having the thought process of a tzaddik, a rein, pure, righteous person, which we all want to become like, or the evil person, the Rasha. The next shtickle he has here is called Ladon Lekavschus. Therefore, it is important to stop verbally and mentally criticizing others. If one sees faults in others, he should judge them favorably. This is as the Ramban writes in the Gershon Ramban, that one should think if he sees a person sinning, that perhaps he is doing so accidentally. In other words, perhaps he never learned that this was truly forbidden. Additionally, it is possible that he has an inborn tendency to do these things and was never educated in a manner that would stop his natural tendencies. In contrast, a person who did receive a solid Torah education from good parents, educators, and role models is truly a sinner if he would sin, right? That's what you would think. Turns out that that is also not true, because you don't know what happened to that person who got the best education, and yet this is what he's doing. So what does that mean? You think that kid isn't as good as you? You think he didn't go to yeshiva, he didn't go to school? You think he doesn't want deep down to be good? Things happen. One should get used to seeing only the good in people. Judging others favorably is a very great merit for the days of judgment. That is, as the Gemara states in Shabbos, that if one judges others favorably, Midah Keneged Midah, Hashem judges him favorably. Says Gershon Edelstein, I remember that my mother used to say that if one fails to be able to judge someone else l'kaf schus, then he should at least judge him l'kaf shtus. This means that when someone sins, he is clearly filled with shtus, silliness. And therefore, he must realize that what he's doing, he doesn't chap what he's doing, and he's not able to do it. Now, when I went to Reb Gershon, I saw that he listened to his mother really well, because that's what he told us. He said they're anusim. I said, Einis? He said, yeah. They're not able to think clearly, and they're going through their stuff. Make them happy, stable people. You'll see they'll think about the world differently. This is a very good Kabbalah for the new year. We should try to judge others favorably, and in this way, we will refrain from having evil thoughts. May we all merit a ksiba v'chsima tova. Now, I think that it's a very, very big chaval that we have to learn from the kids or the adults, the people off the derech, that we have to learn midas. One thing that we all know about our kids is that they're very, very good people. They're very honest, they're very sensitive, and they're very caring. And they care about some things that maybe we didn't realize that we were meant to care about. They are our conscience in many ways. And a lot of times they say things that sound very liberal, but if you actually live in the Torah de Gewalt, you realize that we have a lot to learn from them, and we have a long way to go. Because sometimes when someone grows up in our community, and for whatever reason is out of the community, if you really want to know the things that as a community that we need to fix, ask them. Ask them. It hurts sometimes to hear the criticism, and sometimes it's filled with anger and hate. A lot of these kids were hurt very, very badly, so sometimes it comes over the edge. But that's the best way to get an honest opinion about our school system, our parent system. They hate hypocrisy. They hate it. They absolutely hate hypocrisy, and they don't mince words. They tell it as it is. But if we are honest, if we want to be honest, that's the best way to know where we're holding. That's the best way to realize what do we have to be misaking. If you have a happy kid and he's matzliach in yeshiva, he's not going to be the person to really point out every single flaw. These kids, Nebuch, a lot of them went through, they got every single flaw. And after we get past the anger and the hatred and all of that, they have a lot of things to teach us. They're already teaching us. They're already teaching us about Yiddishkeit. There are a lot of things that we just lost the sensitivity to different things along the way. Ad kadei kach that we hear this from Reb Gershon, and it's so inspiring, because in yeshiva they didn't teach this to us. Talmidav shel Avraham Avinu, first grade, second grade, third grade, should be Avraham Avinu. Having an ayin tova, a ruach nemucha, nefesh vela. Fourth, fifth, sixth should be the midas of Yitzchak Avinu. And 7th, 8th, 9th should be the midas of Yaakov. Then you can go sit and learn. And instead, it's maybe Musa Seder when you're in Beis Medrash, if you're interested. It's really pushed off, and we are very interested in the text, and we're losing a little bit of where did we come from. This religion is built on Avraham Avinu. And in the yeshiva of Avraham Avinu, they wanted us to look at people and see only good.